do we have our streaming thing going yet, or?
Yes.
Okay, I think we can get started. Well, it's July 8th, 2020, and it's time to review the Shawnee County Conservation District's budget, so you're on.
Thank you. Not used to these masks yet. I'm Michael Bassett. I serve as the chair of the Conservation District, and with me is our office manager, Judy Boltman, and our longest serving member and neighbor, Wayne Lukert. The Conservation District, like everyone else, has been adapting to the new environment we're operating in, and luckily with the experience we have in our office, we've been able to manage pretty well, even though we didn't have access to the office with the federal government for a while, or limited access. We've been operating within our budget and maintaining our relationships with the Shawnee County community members and organizations that help keep our environment as a productive part of our economy. We've made priorities to address significant upcoming issues and be more in prevention mode than putting out fire mode. So we've been addressing things like the upcoming threats from new invasive species instead of just having trouble with the others. And just as we were walking in, Judy wanted me to remind you that because of our participation in our activities, other organizations within the county are able to get grants and money. So on top of what you see within our budget and our reports, we're helping other organizations be productive. And we work hand in hand with everyone from Shawnee County Weed Control to the road crews to make the county a better place. I think I'll keep it brief and take questions rather than tell you things you might already know. So I'd open up for any questions and anything you'd like to know about.
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
This Old World Blue stem that we're seeing.
Yep.
Is KDOT helping out in any way? I noticed they had some of that along the highway. Are they have any interest in trying to stop the spread of that, or?
I think everyone knows about the problem and has an interest. I think given what their actual mission is of making roads safe as possible and as economical as possible to keep those roads, it's hard to change your behaviors when you have such a large organization. So the interest is there. So far, I haven't noticed a real strong change of behavior. But there's competing interests. If you are mowing to keep brush down so you don't create a snow fence that creates drifts on your roads, that both provides a safety hazard and also reduces the life of the road with the freezing action of those drifts, and also more road clearance. When they want to mow is exactly when they're going to be spreading the seeds. So it's a multi-step process to get to actual change in the behavior. And they don't have the ability to say, we have a training system to help our employees know where the Old World Blue stem is, because people aren't used to telling grasses apart and sending out a crew. So it's figuring out how to get people with different priorities within their own departments and their own silos of thought to work together to address a problem that the road crews are spreading. And right now, and I don't want to toot our horn too loud, but as far as I know, Shawnee County is leading the way on having a road crew system responding to us being willing to go out and mark spots that shouldn't be mowed if it's safe to not mow them, so that they don't spread, and then working with weed control to know where the know where the Old World Blue stem is so they can go spray it.
Okay. What about honeysuckle? That's such a scourge now. Are we losing that war, or is it?
Yes, we are losing the war. As far it depends on what you want to call losing the war. The trend line is bad on honeysuckle. I personally, and I don't want to take all the credit because I got high school students from the FFA helping me, but I've cleared 74 acres of honeysuckle this year, It is hard, laborious work to
It's hard to kill.
cut and spray. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to kill it with spray without affecting other things. And then, one reason it's not very likely, in my view, to be marching real quickly to the noxious weed is it doesn't affect our productive land very much. Normal practices keep it out of our farm ground, out of our pasture ground. So most of us, at the Crooked Post Ranch, we don't make much more than hunting revenue off of the places where the honeysuckle's taking over. So you just have to have a commitment to making your land a better place, because the deer frankly like the honeysuckle and help spread it. So, the deer hunters don't care if you have honeysuckle on the land. In fact, too many of them will urge you not to cut it because they don't realize it is more detrimental than helpful, because they see them eating the berries. So yes, honeysuckle is one of those problems. Is right now, with our woods being divided up between multiple landowners, we are not seeing economic value of our woods like we could, because who wants to come in and invest on wood harvesting if you don't have anyone organizing all the wood owners so that you can have a steady supply? It's a chicken and egg thing. And if we were addressing getting economic value out of the woods, it'd be easier to have a free market solution to taking care of the honeysuckle. Right now, it's pretty much people looking at it and not liking what they see.
You probably don't get involved too much with the emerald ash borer, do you? And that.
We have cages on our land to monitor it, make sure it hasn't gotten out to us. There's quite a few ash trees in Shawnee County.
A lot.
Yeah. If we don't do anything to slow it down its advance, if we don't bring up a program to start cutting them down in the places and slowing down the infestation until we hopefully have something to do about it that's more effective than what we currently do, we will lose those ash trees just like we lost the elm trees, is the knowledge we have. And but it's a big undertaking, and there's a lot of priorities.
Some of the cities in Kansas City now have programs of how they mitigate the ash trees and taking them down as soon as they see something. And
yeah, you can really slow down the progress, but it takes some dedication to, whether it be weed control or us or somebody else, being able to have a response crew to go out, identify the trees, and whether we put that onus on the landowner, say, you've got an infestation here, you got to take care of it, or we do a partnership and we take on the costs, because the land, once you cut down the tree, that's not the end of it. You got to dispose of the tree properly, so you're not transporting the emerald borer to a new place.
have you had good response from our weed department?
We're still getting to know the new director well, but everything's been clear sailing. I think we'd have done even more than we have if we hadn't had COVID-19 just as he was coming on.
I know.
But yes, everyone has been expressing satisfaction with the weed department. I was just down there last week getting some supplies. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's missed a step so far.
Good. Here. You have any questions?
Yeah, a couple. All right, so in 2019, your wages and salaries gross was $35,900.
Mm-hmm.
And then you jumped about $6,000 in 2020 to $41,700.
Yes.
And now you're jumping another $9,000 or so to $56,000. So what's I mean, that's a pretty big jump from year to year. I mean, we've got a $15,000, $14,000 increase in 2 years. Can you explain that?
Yes, we used to have federal matching funds, and we were one of only 3 counties in the state to have those matching funds, so we didn't have to come to you for those funds.
But that shouldn't be on your expenditures and salaries. I mean, your salaries, I mean, that would be reported under your receipt classifications as to the federal matching.
Well, I should restate it. The money did not come through our organization. It went directly to the employee as a paid employee. That's why it's not showing up on our statement.
Okay, that explains better, because what I was looking at was, I was looking at a $15,000 increase over 2 years, and just trying to get a handle. And so what was the reason for that discontinuation?
It was sort of an ignored program that was not utilized because of our close relationship with the NRCS. We saw an opportunity to apply for money that wasn't being utilized, and we were warned the year we got it that this might only last 1 year. And how many years did we get it to keep that?
8 or 9.
Yeah, we managed to keep that program and going 8 or 9 when we were told we might only get it for 1. So that was one of our abilities to tap funds that instead of coming to you for more money.
And one of the reasons that, Wayne Luther, one of the reasons we were able to keep it going that long is because we actually did things with it.
Okay. And then on the state of Kansas, I know the state of Kansas it should match what the county puts in, but they're not required to put more than 25,000.
Right.
And so you've got 25,000 listed, but you didn't get 25,000 last year. Is that just what you're hoping to get? Is that just we're gonna shoot for the max that the state?
Judy, what was our most recent communication?
The state tells us to put 25,000 every year, even though they know they're not going to get us that.
Since they changed district law when we got increased funding, this has been quite a few years ago, they said they would match up to 25,000, and then there's a little proviso, depending on the budget requirements of the state. So if they have to do across-the-board cuts to meet their budget requirements, then that so be it. And then we've never gotten the full 25,000 since they did that, but it's better to have it in place than not have it at all.
Because your overall request is just for $3,000 more.
Yes.
And so just kind of again, trying to look at where those things are coming from.
Sure.
And then the final question, when you're working with the weed department, tell me a little bit more about how the conservation district's actually working with the weed department to go out and maybe identify some of these issues.
So, one of the things we do is we hold public meetings and trainings with weed control to help landowners either refresh or get up to speed on new information. And of course, we always have a lot of land turnover. So there's people who are interested in owning a small, sometimes a large piece of land, but frequently small pieces of land. And they've got some dreams, but they don't really know what prairie or riparian area means, except they'd like to see it look better. So part of it is the public education. The other aspect, and to be frank, we haven't done this as much with the COVID-19 this last few months, but what we have done in the past and what we will continue to do in the future is we have our network of people telling us what they're seeing, and we provide that information into weed control. And one of the areas we discuss the most is Old War bluestem.
But do you guys serve as a consultant on hand for, there are times where the weed department will become overextended when you're trying to get the chemicals out, do the treatment, get the phone calls to go out and check, work with the public. It goes in a cycle, but
Sure.
there are times where the weed department can get kind of stretched thin when you're trying to handle all of those things.
Very much.
Does the conservation district ever act as a consultant, or have you ever talked about acting as a consultant to say, hey, you get a call, we'll go out and identify what the blue stem is, and then you guys can follow up with the treatment?
The conservation district isn't licensed by the county to be going out and spraying in public areas.
I just meant the identification.
Yeah, the identification we do. I do personally sometimes. But that's only because, like you said, they're stretched thin. They don't need our facilities for that. One of the things I think we probably do end up helping their time. I'm a little bit wary of saying this because I don't want to claim something if they don't see the help. But in the past, we've had calls referred on information services so that they don't have to, answer questions, that they'll refer calls over to us. The one aspect of where we've acted as that consultant that you're talking about, is we've been the ones going to the county roads department to talk about the address of weed control. So we've taken that on, and, we're very careful to keep them apprised of everything we're doing so we don't catch them off guard. So that still takes up some of their time. But, we've been the ones leading the discussions with the road departments. And that's something that they're very useful in helping us inform of what they're doing with their spraying program and what might work and what might not work. But we've taken on that kind of responsibility of going out. The weed control department actually does a lot more. We have a lot more knowledge about what we're learning from the farms and the ranches around. The Shawnee County Weed Control knows a lot more about the roads and things in the county parks and the urban setting. And that's how, it's not that we don't know anything about those areas, but they've taken the lead in those areas where we've taken the lead in agriculture mostly.
Sure. Okay. Appreciate it, thank you.
Oh, appreciate it, Kevin.
You guys do a lot of mitigation work around streams, and are you seeing any increase in the quality of water through all these efforts? That
Yes.
eventually ends up in our drinking water.
Yeah, the work is quite effective at actually increasing quality at the sites where we're addressing. Compared to the problem, we're still, we're not addressing enough the problem. They've identified all the priority areas that have too much sediment load, too much nutrients, and, we don't have enough funding in the state to address all the problems they've identified. So they've narrowed it down to certain aspects, and we work within the priority guidelines that the state has set as to where we put our energies, because frankly, that's where the money is. And a focused effort, like in Shawnee County, it's the Upper Wakarusa that's got some money. Soldier Creek's got some money. Mission Creek, where I live, is a priority area, but it has no money. So and it also doesn't feed into something like Clinton Lake Reservoir to help someone's drinking water. It goes in the Kansas River, which provides drinking water too, but it doesn't have the sediment load problem that our reservoirs do. So, we're picking which fires to put out there. We aren't being as proactive as we'd like to be.
If I may.
Sure. Wayne.
That's one of the reasons we participate in these RAPs, these water restoration and protection strategies. They're, like you said, the one in Wakarusa, and then the one, Lower Kansas, Middle Kansas RAPs program. And then some of you guys are kind of familiar with some of those, but because we're participating in there, we're ensuring that our interests in Shawnee County are being met. And with our helping them, they're able to secure more funding for their RAPs because of our participation. And we're able to leverage the dollars that we have, because they can use them to say, well, we're getting help from them, so this is matching funds so they can get more dollars through the RAPs program for their other funding sources.
One thing I would note on increasing water quality, we focus an awful lot on the rancher and the farmer's responsibility for that nutrient load and erosion. And, given the number of acres we utilize to feed the nation, that's huge. But I wonder if an area that would be cost-effective to target is, as my personal experience, is our road crews in the townships. That's a thankless job. There's not enough resources to meet the demands that are put upon them. And, their job is to get the roads cleared, make sure that they've taken care of the potholes that are developing. And, they do not have the priority of keeping the sediment out. So when they have to put in a new culvert, when they have to grade down the road, it's not very much different from just pushing that dirt. And, we're up there on Carlson and 89th Street, right on the edge of the county right there. So we get to watch, we're trying to reduce our sediment load, but the road crews trying to do their job end up pushing a lot more dirt in a given day. And then, of course, what's even worse is when you cut open the land to take care of a problem, you know, when we get one of these 3-inch gushers, the rain does its level of work. So I sort of wonder if there's not enough feedback going up. I think if we had direction and assistance, these township roads could do a lot more to reduce that sediment load. I mean, we're asking the farmers and ranchers to do a lot, but I don't see them getting the help to reduce their sediment load in, and it's really easy to identify when they do it, but you know, I don't do that kind of work. I don't want to sound like I'm criticizing them at all. They got their hands full, and it's a thankless job. There's always someone complaining. But when, you know, those 5 members get together and try to figure out a problem, get a culvert in so people can still go to work, you know, they're not very worried about that sediment getting into the Wakarusa.
When you say sediment load, are you talking about, I know that we see the chip and seals all the time that have people call in, it's filling their ditches and stuff, and is that what you're referring to, or?
Oh, I'm talking about when they have to put in a new culvert. I mean, when the road is so bad they have to do a major regrading, or there's been a washout, and there's dirt in the way, or they have to cut along the banks of the road to make more room for the ditches to carry the water off the road, and they're trying to rebuild their runoff off the road into the ditches. You know, they don't have engineers. They don't have the resources to figure out what impact of how much of that sediment they're moving around is going to end up in our creeks and rivers. There's all sorts of little things, but no, the things that are very dramatic in my experience is when they're going in and dealing with a problem. And then it's really, you know, bucket loads of dirt going in from pretty big machinery, you know, or ending up there. And again, I'm not casting any aspersions on them. They're, you know, they have a lot of masters and they're trying to meet some really critical needs, but they don't have any financially effective way to control that erosion. There's no replanting program along those roadways when they do a cut. You know, there's no one, you know, unless a private landowner just decides he wants to take care of it himself, and most of them are strapped for funds right now, just like we are. So, you know, in comparison to the need. So it's just one area that I just thought I'd add my voice to, that it just seems like it seems like low-hanging fruit. Not low-hanging fruit in necessarily figuring out the budgetary ways to take care of it, but low-hanging fruit is, it's a lot of dirt really fast.
Any other questions, comments?
No.
Well, I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.